I'd like to now invite the most loved, renowned, and most favorite author of children, Mr. Ruskin Bond, who has beautifully weaved in the Age for Handwashing message to an innovative storytelling book. Over to you, sir.
Well, this is the first time I've done something like this. You see, 70 years ago, I started my writing career with a novel. And now, towards the end of my career, after 70 years, I've written an alphabet book. So is that going forwards or is it going backwards? I'm not sure. But anyway, I enjoyed writing it. Thank you. The story poem. And of course, I feel a certain loyalty towards Lifebuoy as well, because I grew up with Lifebuoy soap. It didn't have much competition in those days, back in the 40s and 50s. And in school too, everyone had to report more or less to the housekeeper with perhaps enough soap for the year. And so there it was. It was very much a part of one's growing up. Yeah, well, basically, I'm a storyteller. And I've written hundreds of short stories over the years. That's the medium that suits me best, really. I've written poetry too. I've written essays, novels, short novels, because somehow I've never had either the time or the patience to write a very long novel. So otherwise I think I've tried pretty well every medium, including a bit of biography and history and nonfiction too. So I'm an all-rounder, you might say, in the literary field. Yes, well, I guess washing one's hands has always been important. And I remember my grandmother always making me wash my hands before meals. And because I'd be playing in the dust or in the garden or, football. And in school too, we had to wash our hands regularly. But I think it's, at the same time, I know over the years living up here in the hills and in remote villages where you don't get soap and kids just grow up without the concept of using soap. I mean, they'd jump in the river and have, bathe or throw a bucket of water over themselves. But that was it, because soap wasn't easily available. It's different. Things are getting better now because NGOs and others have been sort of telling them how important it is to use soap when they wash or bathe. And also with the pandemic or the coronavirus epidemic, it has made it even more important that everybody washes their hands regularly with soap and water, and particularly children, because they're out and about usually more than we are. So there it is. I think the importance of hand washing needs to be emphasized, and it should be something you don't have to tell people or children to do. It's something that they should be doing automatically now. And so hopefully a story poem like Hand Washing Alphabet will sort of make a difference and make them look upon hand washing as fun too, I remember when I was a boy and there was a little girl who lived across the road, and she was always washing her hands, and I thought she was overdoing it. But looking back now, I think, well, maybe she was doing the right thing.
About the story, about where did the story come from? Yes.
Well, I thought it was important to get a whole group of children together, basically school children, boys and girls, and not just have them in the classroom or in the on the school premises, but take them on an outing where something would be happening around them all the time. So they would, so the process of hand washing would fit in naturally with the day's activities, going off on a jaunt in a rickety old bus, then moving around in the zoo, watching different birds, animals, and then obviously before they're going to have their midday meal, they need to wash their hands. And again, afterwards, or when they're leaving the zoo or before they go home. So I would work it out 2 or 3 times a day, but not in a boring way. So it was part of the fun of the day's activity. And then I happen to like animals too, and birds and beasts. So I guess it immediately came to me that the zoo would be of interest, and the hand washing would follow naturally. And you got me to write it in 24 hours flat. Otherwise, I would have probably plodded along and taken time. But sometimes it's good to, I always work a bit better under pressure. So I think it's good that you give me short notice. It was wonderful if it spreads, and partly it can be through the Ministry of Education into government schools. It can also go into private public schools. We have it in English. Maybe we can also have translations later. Of course, the rhyming part is difficult in a translation, but that doesn't matter. One can have a certain poetic license there. So it would be important, I think, if starting with this, and we have sort of translations into Hindi and regional languages too. I think that would take it into the interior, into the rural areas, where perhaps English isn't so familiar a language with children who are growing up. They are learning English now in most states from an early level. So I think they can cope with this, but it could also be interesting to have translations, maybe. I loved the illustrations. I thought they were very jolly and nice and well executed. And it's good. You had that white background, so they stand out. The colorful sketches and illustrations. I think that enhances the alphabet, the story, beautifully. And the illustrations are so important in a children's book. And the younger the kid, the more he or she responds to those, attractive pictures and illustrations. So I think that's one thing I liked about it.